trouble. I had to reboot the video once. And let's see here. We're going to be right at about 5 minutes late, it looks like. And we are getting the second live signal that we are live. And so I'm going to go ahead and refresh my videos here and see if I can pick up the live stream. And there she be, Grand Seiko shortage. Let's see if I got the Mickey Mouse voice today. We'll see what the audio sounds like. Actually, it doesn't sound like I've got the Mickey Mouse voice, so there you go. I don't know how I do that either. The people asked for me to duplicate that, but I don't know how it was done in the first place, so I can't duplicate. Blue Shirt Buddha is first. I'm glad I've got my SBGN005. I just have to learn to stop looking at it while driving. Yes, that can be an issue, especially when the sun hits that dial. It can be distracting, and it can cause accidents. Blue Shirt Buddha's in the house again. We are here. Wrench Gang's here. Carlos is here. Good afternoon. Rolex Haters in the house. There you go. You sound fine, says Blue Shirt Buddha. Just as I cough, get a little drink here. So, before we get into the topic at hand, I got a couple of comments from a grinder, and I'll go ahead and switch to the laptop here. I did a screen grab and emailed it to myself. So he says, CraigShipp again, subjective, because I drive Mercedes vehicles and have for 20 years without issue. My current 2016 E350 is still running without any issues or concerns. For the last 4 years, a Mercedes is a Mercedes, unlike a Lexus, which is an upgraded Toyota. This is in response to my comment about Lexus being the way to go. And let's go on here. And I said, I'm generally referring to cars 10 or more years old. This is when long-term reliability shows. And here's another comment. I think we're all partial to our brands and feel they are the best quality, which is why we own them. I own many Rolex watches, Precision to Submariner models, and many Seiko watches, Seiko 5 to GS, and I think they are both exception time brands. Otherwise, I would not own them. I have a total of 400 watches, and yet to compare any against another because they are all unique and different, including quality. I'm just saying we all tend to be subjective because we're not watchmakers. Okay, Grand Seiko is one of the true luxury brands. Okay. It's refreshing to see something different. I saw the regular version with the red dials and immediately liked it. Wasn't sure about the size on my wrist. Okay. And then here, the GS is an awesome watch, as I stated on previous posts. Sorry it got cited by cars, although cars and watches do go hand in hand. Recently talked about Holy Trinity watches. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so here's the deal. Here's how this came up. I was talking on one of my shows, and I was talking about Lexus versus specifically the LS Lexus sedan, the top-of-the-line LS sedan, LS 430, LS 460, even going back to the LS 400. Now we're going back 20 years, right? 20-plus years. I was saying that they're a much better vehicle than a BMW 7 Series or an S-Class Mercedes, and they are. And that's not subjective, folks. That's objective. They are a better car if reliability, especially long-term reliability, is important to you. If you want to line the pockets of the BMW dealer and the Mercedes dealer, if that's your strategy for a luxury sedan, then go with the BMW, go with the Mercedes. So that was what that was all about. And I'm sticking to my comments, and I think anybody that tries to make a counter argument to that are not living in reality, okay? For the most part, a 10 to 15-year-old senior series S-Class Mercedes or 7 Series BMW are going to punish you as far as maintenance and upkeep and repairs if you drive it regularly. So especially if it's got like 100,000 plus miles on it. You know, people buy a Lexus with 150,000 miles on it. They don't even think about it. If it was well maintained and so forth, they just buy it and run it. They don't have any problems at all with them. So it's a whole different ball game, folks. And it's a similar situation with the Grand Seiko watches. They're just fantastic, well-made watches, and people are starting to realize this, it seems. And we're starting to get more and more reports of shortages. And unlike the Rolex shortages, which are caused mainly by speculators buying up the inventory and then reselling it at big profits, the shortage with Grand Seiko seems to be retail buyers, just people buying the watches and using them. There's a small gray market on Grand Seiko, but nothing like Rolex. It seems to be the end users that are buying them, and the end users are starting to outstrip the supply, which isn't hard to do with Grand Seiko because there's so much handwork in them. And Steve was commenting that the folks at the factory, that most of them are middle-aged, and they've got a few folks that they're training, apprentices, but not nearly enough to probably even maintain manufacturing capabilities that they have now, much less expand those. So I don't think we're going to see an expansion in production. And 400 watches, Carlos says, yeah, that's pretty bizarre. I don't know how I could ever wear 400 watches, but anyway. So yeah, I think supplies are going to be constrained for the foreseeable future. I don't think it's going to get any better. And Steve does have priority, so he's got a better chance at getting these watches for his customers than really anybody else. But even with priority, that doesn't mean that he's going to be able to get whatever watches he wants when he wants them. So it's going to be an issue going forward. I'm glad I have my two daily drivers. I'm not wearing the GMT much this time of the year. I'll be honest with you. In the summer, it's hot weather. I've got my sleeves rolled up. I'm wearing the titanium diver stunner. And it was interesting. You know, Mark, the dog man, has done a few videos about the steel version of the watch. He has the same watch, but in the steel version. And he's done a few videos. He's actually said some intelligent things about it. In other words, he let some of the truth slip out. One of the things being it's more comfortable on the wrist because of the design of the case, because of the shape of the lugs, because of the way it's rounded and all. It's more comfortable on the wrist. Imagine that. I've been saying that for over a year. Imagine that. And imagine if he'd actually bought the titanium version, how much more comfortable it would be. It's like 10 times more comfortable than the steel version. And then he says, well, you know, I didn't want to buy the titanium version because I like the look of stainless steel. I don't like the gray. Look, this really isn't gray. It looks pretty much stainless steel. I mean, you can put them side by side, and it's very hard to tell the difference. And like I say, I've got a steel watch right there. Not much difference. So once again, he really needs to inform himself and study up a little bit on some of these things. I used to put my link to my Grand Seiko page in the comments on his video, but he said he's not going to allow that, and he deletes it and so on and so forth. He should allow it because it's the page I set up about Grand Seiko is very educational. He and his subscribers would learn a few things, but I don't think they're interested in learning much. I think they're just interested in having a good time, having some laughs. That's okay. Have some laughs. There's nothing wrong with that. Not everybody wants to learn anything. Okay. Let's see here. I wouldn't call that a grinder. Doesn't sound malicious to me. Well, grinders don't have to be malicious. Grinders just have to be ill-informed. Ill-informed can also be a grinder. And anybody that, here's my definition of a grinder. A grinder is anybody that either knowingly or unwillingly or willingly, either way, distributes inaccurate information and or misleads people, sometimes causing harm, sometimes causing people to lose money or otherwise be inconvenienced or whatever. One of the reasons why I started doing product reviews on my channel many years ago is because there were so many fake product reviews out there, either by people that were intentionally misleading people or by people that just didn't know any better. People reviewing items that they didn't really test thoroughly. They just kind of got the item, unboxed it, did a quick review and then that was it, right? And they send it back to Amazon or wherever, right? And they never really tested the item. So sometimes I would actually go out and buy an item based on this information. And I'm like, I get the item and I'm like, my God, it's nothing like this guy was talking about. And so I started doing product reviews because I wanted to give people the straight skinny. I wanted to give people the information on stuff I really actually use. Okay? And some of my review videos have done exceptionally well because of that. I have a video that's very simple that just shows how to replace the battery in a Prius remote for the car, right? After about 6 or 7 years, you got to replace the little battery in it, and it's real tricky to do it. So I put a video up just showing that. It's got like 50,000 views. It's insane. So people want accurate information. And the only reason I referred to this gentleman as a grinder is he's putting out information that is just totally BS. Now, his junior series BMW might do better for 3 or 4 years or whatever than the senior series car. It's not as complicated and so on and so forth. But he keeps that car long enough and he drives that car long enough, it's going to bite him in the butt too. Okay? And to try to make an argument that that car is more reliable than a Toyota or a Lexus is absolutely ridiculous. The data and the stats do not support that argument. Okay? He's all wet with that argument. So it's just like somebody trying to say a Rolex is a better watch than a Grand Seiko. It's a ridiculous argument to try to make, yet people try to make it every day of the week, and they mislead people, and I think it's not a good thing. So let's get through these comments real quick, because this is not going to be a long broadcast. The reason I started early was because Steve couldn't do a broadcast. By the way, 2 big thumbs up for Steve. He did a great job yesterday. He's really improving. He's going to be bringing you guys some great shows. I'm looking forward to it. I like watching Steve's shows. So 2 big thumbs up for Steve. But he couldn't do a show today, so I figured I'd slip one in here. He's going to try to do one tomorrow. I cannot do one tomorrow. I got a wedding I'm covering tomorrow for the beautiful and talented Christina Denny, longtime friend, who some of you all met at one of Steve's events. We had her over at Steve's event last year. She was fantastic. Hopefully we'll have her back again. Let's see here. But anyway, I'm going to her wedding tomorrow, so I can't. I'll be there pretty much all day. So I can't do a show. But Rolex Hater Craig, these guys aren't all there, and they live in their mother's basement. Am I right? It's very possible. Craig, looks like you finally realized that speaking that Neanderthal voice to mimic a compliant shows more about you than, well done. I'm not sure what you said, Sam. Somebody please translate for me because I don't know exactly what he said. I'm fine, and you? Okay, let's see. Did you see the Mark Goldberg latest video? Skip to 55 seconds and just play 20 seconds. Maybe I'll do that, but which one is it? Which video are you referring to? Let's see. Jacob, I'm great too. More comfortable than James Cameron. Oh my gosh, yes. James Cameron, that thing is a monstrosity on wrist. Let's see. He said then a SD43, I think. Okay, there we go. We're getting the facts. Craig, how much for you and Mark, the dog man, to debate tonight on the Archie stream? Archie won't allow me on his streams, so that's not going to happen. And there's really nothing to debate. I mean, I'm right and he's wrong. So, but he's actually starting to come around. Mark is starting to come around very slowly. Give some of these people time. I think he admitted, no, it was Archie that said in his video, I loved his Patek video. That was funny. That was hilarious. There's nobody else like Archie, okay? Just full stop, mic drop. There's Archie, and then there's everybody else, right? He's funny. I love it. But, I mean, he even said that he's been in the watch thing for 20 years, so he's a newcomer compared to me. I've been doing this since 1978, at least wearing and using Rolexes since 1978. I'm not a collector. I'm not a dealer. I have bought and sold some here and there. I've probably owned, a dozen or so Rolexes over the years. But I'm not a guru. I'm not a dealer, but I'm certainly a long-time user, and heavy use at that. Longer than any of these other guys on there. And even Steve hasn't been in the watch and into luxury watches as long as I have. So there's that. At least I've got longevity on my side. GS Diver's beautiful watch. The more I look at it, the more I like it over the stainless steel Submariner. Well, especially if you get the 231 version. If you get this one, is super, super comfortable on wrist. For a wear all the time, heavy use watch, this is fantastic. It all depends on your use case, really, in my opinion. If you're just buying it to like have it sitting around in a box or something like that, then it doesn't really matter. Archie and TGV, Craig and Mark, too much high school drama. For talk watches, not drama. I agree with you. He was the one that really took the shot at me. I put comments that were very sage and accurate and so forth. He's the one that took the shots at me, and brought it to the high school drama juvenile level. I'm not gonna continue the drama, but I'm just gonna state that I'm pleased that he is slowly starting to learn about Grand Seiko, and that some of the things that he's been saying all this time, that he's probably starting to realize that probably shouldn't have said them. Shouldn't talk about things that you know nothing about. That's all. I'll leave it there. You should talk about things that you know something about, I think. Can't say it's going to bite him. Try it's probably gonna bite him. I'm not sure what you mean. And by the way, I think it was also misleading. He talked about $6,000. I don't get it. You can buy the steel version of this watch for a lot less than that. I don't know why he would throw that number around. I mean, you can get a discount just about anywhere on them new. You can buy them used for probably $4,500 easily. You can buy this titanium one used for around $5,000, and it's a $7,100 list price. So I don't understand why he was throwing around the $6,000 price, why he wouldn't throw around a more realistic price. I hope nobody went out and bought one for $6,000 based on his number. Let's see here. Nobody can make a statement that Rolex is better than Grand Seiko, nor can anyone make a statement that GS is better than Rolex. It's hard to do so. It's easier to say we prefer. Well, you can say that it's a higher quality watch. It's better finished. It's better built. It's got a lot more handwork in it. It's a higher quality watch. You can certainly say that about the Grand Seiko. Now, some people don't care about that, don't care about the quality. They're buying strictly the name, in which case, if you're buying the name, the Rolex has a much stronger name. I'm not going to debate that. I mean, that's a slam dunk. They've got the name. But if you want the quality, go with Grand Seiko. Let's see. My BMW is for sale. I've just been a week in the USA for the Blade Show, now back in the Netherlands and looking for a Lexus. Peter in the house. Smart man. Try to get a one owner, garage kept car with all records. That's what you want. And it's worth hunting for it and getting the right car if you're going to buy a used one. And the sweet spot on a Lexus is about 10 years old. You know, you get a 10-year-old LS sedan, for example, you can get a heck of a deal on one. Get a garage kept one. I found one for a friend of mine the other day. It had 50,000 miles on it. It was a 2002 LS 430 with the luxury package with 50,000 original miles on it. She didn't end up buying it because she wants an SUV. She's dead set on an SUV. So I'm like, my God, that LS sedan is fantastic. But, oh well. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. But anyway, they're out there. Complainant, not complainant. one who complains. Okay. What is your opinion on Omega Speedmaster Moonwatch? I would pass on the Moonwatch. I just have no interest in it. I don't think they're that well made. There are other Omegas I would buy before I would buy that, but I'm not a big chronograph fan. I don't like the busy dial and all that. And so if you really want to have a chronograph and you would use the chronograph function, then yeah, you might consider it, but not for me. I would pass on it completely. My point is, when you mimic a person, you talk and in the Neanderthal voice, dumbing down that person by rights yourself too. Okay. All right. Watch Dr. Mark Goldberg's last video, which you referenced in that GS watch, sits better on the wrist. 55 seconds mark, he says differently. Anyway, he commented about how comfortable it was on wrist, so I don't know what you're saying, but anyhow. And he's liable to say anything at any time, so don't count on a lot of consistency there, I think. So it is what it is. But he certainly said some positive things about it. He's also said some negative things about it, which is to be expected. Very fun Archie's Lange versus Patek video. Yeah, it's hilarious. It's hilarious. That's vintage Archie. I mean, he's hilarious. But like I say, he can't get big corporate sponsors and all because of all the profanity. But the profanity is what makes his shtick kind of work. He could probably do it without it, and it would probably work. He could probably tame it a little bit, and it would probably still work. But that was vintage luxury. Let's take a look at this GS again. I'm right, you're wrong. Sound argument. Okay, exactly. I'm always right, and so that's how that works. Archie, the Respect Grand Seikos, did say that in many videos I've seen. Absolutely, Archie has said some positive things about Grand Seiko. Archie's not a dummy. I mean, he's not a dummy. He's a lot of things, but he's not a dummy. He can spot quality when he sees it. Mark didn't mention anything about the spring drive movement. I think he talked about it initially a little bit in the first video, didn't he? But he probably will when he gets to his more in-depth review. Isn't he going to do a more in-depth review after he's had it for a while? I think he'll probably do that. I'll tell you one thing, if he likes accuracy, he will absolutely get spoiled. I'm spoiled to death. I never have to double check this watch. I'm like, I just, go doing my thing and all that. I know when I look at it, it's spot on, right? And I have certain things that I do that are time sensitive. Like tomorrow morning, for example, I'm calling into the radio show. I do it every Saturday morning. And the DJ gives me an exact time. He texts me an exact time to call in. And it's not the same time every time. This show is from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. in the morning every Saturday. And it's usually around 10:33 a.m. or 10:23 a.m. or some exact time. He texts me and he says, call at that time, because he'll make sure to free up a line for me to get through. And so I do. And it's really nice to be able to just look at my watch and know that it's like spot on, right? This is within 2 seconds right now. And it's the last time I said it was when daylight savings time changed. It's months ago, right? And so it's really nice to know that your watch, that you can really rely on it being like pretty much right on the mark or real close to it. This one, like right on the mark, right? I mean, insane. So, and I like that. I really do like that. Wrench Gang and everybody, I've owned several BMWs, starting with a 2002 back in the mid-70s. I now have a Lexus. The data and research show Lexus mechanically better. And it's going to be interesting to see what your experiences are, Wags, with it. And again, this really applies to cars that have some age on them, 10, 15 years old. If they're in the warranty period, it's not a big deal, because if something does fail, you just take it in and the dealer fixes it or whatever. I mean, I'm talking about people that want to save some money and buy a car that's 10, 15 years old and run it, for like 10 more years, that type of thing. Better buy a Lexus. Better buy a Lexus or Toyota. Get a real nice garage kept one owner car. It's been preserved in the garage. You're going to be well set. Let's see here. Tom says, hi all. Had a 735 always in the shop. Uh-oh. Time to head home. I'm listening in the car. Later, fellas. There you go. Blue shirt Buddhist monitoring in the car. Buy Grand Seiko if you want to lose money. Rolex hater. If you buy a watch, you better not be thinking about it as an investment. You better not be counting on getting your money out of it. I don't care what it is you buy. And speaking of investments, so in other words, you should buy a watch that you want, and then you should wear it. And then you're going to be okay. And buy a watch you can afford. If you're broke, you shouldn't be buying these expensive watches, period. And speaking of broke people, here's a thing that was on... that I saw about an article about the Tesla solar roof, right? And this is why most people are broke. Okay, doing math like this is why most people are broke. This is an $85,000 project on this car, right? And they said, okay, you're going to get a $15,727 federal tax credit, right? And over 30 years, now understand, over 30 years, they're going to save $65,466 in electricity projections, right? And so based on that, the net price of the system over 30 years is $4,100, okay? And our wags will tell you that the problem with this math is you've got to spend the $65,466 right away, assuming you get that tax credit back right away, right? You're out of pocket $65,466 right away, okay? So that money you can't invest in something else. It can't double in value every 7 years like a normal investment would, right? So that $65,000 would become $130,000 in 7 years, right? And then double again another 7 years. So after 30 years, how much is that money worth? A lot, right? A lot. So the math there is a real problem. And this is why most Americans are broke, is that that's how they do math. Maybe our wags can chime in the comments on that one. Let's see here. Drive carefully. While I was in Atlanta, I test drove an Lexus IS 350. What a great car. Yeah, the 350 is the front-wheel drive. It's like a glorified, as far as I know, it's like a glorified Camry, right? It's a nice car, but I would buy a LS sedan. But I'd spend the same money and you go a little older and buy a LS sedan, the front-engine rear-drive, V8 rear-drive sedan. That's like the cat's meow. Okay, so what else do we have here? I ordered a GS SBGN005 in the UK yesterday. In the Netherlands, not in stock. Sorry, I meant ES 350. Okay. Okay, yeah, I don't know that I think the ES 350 is the front drive sedan, right? I think it's the one like the Camry. Yeah, the IS is something. Yeah, okay, so it is something different. Yeah, I'm not keeping up on all the latest models anyway. Hey, Craig. Chi-Town is back in California. There you go. Absolutely. The IRR of that is ridiculous. Carlos calling out the people's math on that. Now, the other thing we have to take into consideration, though, is did they need a roof? If they needed a roof, then we would have to subtract the cost of a normal roof from that, too, because you would have to buy a roof anyway, right? So really, it should be the difference, how much extra you're paying for the roof, and maybe that is how much extra they're paying. And the problem with counting on future returns like that is there's a lot of variables. A lot of things can change. Prices of electricity can change. The price of having the same roof put on 10 years later might change. It might cost you half the price 10 years later to put the roof on, right? So if you can wait, if you can patch your roof a little bit and save your money, again, invest it, let it double in 7 years, then buy the roof for half the price, all the numbers have just changed dramatically, right? So that's the problem with all of that. But let's not talk logic here. Why let logic and facts rear their ugly head? Let's see. It's like all these doom and gloom climate change people, right? If you ever start talking any facts with them, they're like, why would you bring that up? This is a crisis. We have to deal with this immediately. We don't have time to study anything. We don't have to, it's a consensus. We're all going to die in 12 years. We're done for. And you come back and you say, well, there were people saying that 40 years ago, that we were going to die in like 10 years. It didn't happen. And then they said, well, another 20 years we're dead for sure. And then they said 50 years. Now they're getting bold. I'm surprised that they're saying 12 years now because historically what they've generally been doing is kicking out the doomsday number further out because they don't want it to show that they don't know what the hell they're talking about, right? If I say we're all going to be dead in 100 years, nobody can challenge that because nobody's going to be around 100 years from now that's alive now, right, to question it. But if 20 years ago they said, okay, we're going to all be dead in 20 years, now it's 20 years later, we're all still alive, I mean, that really undermines their credibility. So I'm surprised they're going with the 12-year thing now. That's very surprising to me. Oh, boy. And today I had to put a freaking sweater on. I'm out walking. It's like 65 degrees. So there's that. And that, of course, then they shift and they say, well, it's not global warming anymore. It's climate change. Okay, the climate is changing. Well, who can argue that, right? The climate is always freaking changing. I mean, no doubt the climate is changing. I'll say that. And I can fix the whole thing if you just give me a lot of money. And, of course, the term they use is resources. They don't use money, right? We need the resources to attack this problem. So if you give me enough resources, I can fix it. I can fix anything. Let's see. I ordered a GS005 in the Netherlands. Will come in July. Okay, there you go. Craig, I watched 2 videos talking about how watches are good investments. One was by the Shark. Yeah. And the other was by producer Michael. Total misleading information. Yeah, Blue Shirt Buddha did a great video on that. You should check out his video. He did a video recently about the investments. Yeah, Blue Shirt Buddha guy. He does some great stuff. You've probably seen some of his videos. Should I order a GS from the overseas guy or try my luck with a U.S. dealer? I would recommend dealing with Steve. I mean, of course, I'm biased. I bought both of my watches from Steve. Steve at Little Treasury Jewelers, littletreasury.com. The link is in the description of this video. I highly recommend him. But that's me. The Lexus GS is my personal favorite next to the LS. Yeah, I had a GS, a 1999 GS 300. That was, I think, the first year of that body style where they changed the body style, and it really looked cool. And that had the inline 6-cylinder with the rear-wheel drive. That's a really great power plant, that inline 6. They made for years. Toyota made for years, and of course they had it in some of the Lexuses. It was in some of the Land Cruisers for years. Now, of course, they have the V8 in them. I love that inline 6. But I'm still doubting between the Oyster Petrel or an Explorer. I would go with the Oyster Perpetual personally. I think it's more versatile, but they're both fantastic watches. I don't know how you can go wrong with either one. But I would, and also it would depend on the deal you can get. That would play into it. But I think you can't go wrong with either one. That's really a coin toss. I look for the best deal, like a one owner, well kept watch with all papers, all that kind of stuff, legit. RJ Lane, if you were to get stranded on an island or for some equivalent scenario, you'll wish you had a mechanical watch. Well, see, that's the thing with whoops, with this watch here, I've got the best of both worlds. I don't have to worry with any battery. This thing will run for 30, 40, 50 years without any servicing because it doesn't have an escapement, so it doesn't have that wear and tear of the escapement mechanism. So if you want to be on a desert island and you want a watch that's absolutely going to work for decades while you're on that island, you better wear the 231. You better wear the 231. That's all I'm saying. No worries there. Let's see. I would go with Explorer, but you should be clear if you put both in your wrist. Yeah, try them both on. Absolutely try them both on and see what you really like. It's really either one is a fantastic watch. Grand Seiko at all times. Explorer 36. Yeah, absolutely. I would go with the 36. Yes. 36 is a great all-around size. Already getting, okay. SBGN005 with champagne dial. Go or no go? SBGN005. SBGN005. It's not coming up in my search, SBGN005. How come it's not coming up? Are you sure that model is correct? SBGN005 is not coming up. So I'm not sure about that model. Global warming became climate change when the great climate change hoax, the biggest con in history, to move towards a one world government. Well, a lot of people have gotten wealthy off of that and still continue to do so. It's a money grab. It really is. So if we all die in 12 years, the people won't pay off their new roofs. Andrew, hey, they want you to pay cash, man. They want the cash now for that roof. You got to pay up, man. I guess they'll put a lien on your house and loan the money to you. Let's see. Save the polar bears. Hey, Craig and all. David Williams in the house. Our Wags saying hello to Dave. I just picked up my first GS SBGJ203 pre-owned in great shape. Let's check that one out. There's no 2003. That's an extra digit there. The 203, is it the high beat GMT? Is that the one you have? This one? That's a beauty. That'd be a beauty if that's the one you got. Yes, sirree, Bubba. Yeah, if you can get a deal on one, absolutely get a deal. When you can get a deal, get a deal. Seiko Astron would be the best. Date would always be right, too. I love my Seiko Astron. Seiko Astron, I'm not sure what that is, but cool. Sorry, SBGA 201. Let's check that out. Okay. All right. There she blows. It's a real simple spring drive. Very nice. Very elegant. Absolutely. Absolutely. Positively. That can be a lifetime piece. Let's see here. High beat. Okay. Let's see what else. Can we get a deal from littletreasure.com? Yeah, talk to Steve. Absolutely. But I mean, the sooner you do deals on these Grand Seikos, the better, because I'm telling you, the supplies are starting to get constrained. Not on all models, but some of them are starting to get a little dicey to get. So I'd grab it while you can. I'm pleased that I have my 231 and that I have my 005 in possession, because both of these models are starting to get a little dicey to get. A little bit dicey to get. And I got good deals on both of them. I don't mind telling you. I got good deals on both of these. Federico confirms change of heart for Seiko, for Grand Seiko, in latest video. Well, what does he say about it? What's his change of heart? What the over-under on days until Mark sells his GS? Should we set the line at 100 days? You know, I think that depends on how much he paid for it. I can't imagine that he paid anywhere near the number he was talking about. Did he say what he actually paid for it? I know he said that's around $6,000. Maybe he was just talking about list price. Has he said anything about how much he paid for it? Because depending on how much he paid for it, if he paid too much, he might have trouble selling it. And he doesn't seem like the type that likes to take a loss. So it depends on the deal he got, really. But my guess is he'll sell it. I mean, he's already said he's up to here with watches. I mean, he's like overextended. So yeah, he's got way too many watches. And he might be starting to realize that it's not a good place to park a bunch of your money, especially if we have the adjustment in the market that I think is coming, where I think the steel Rolexes are going to take a big hit. And his steel and gold Rolex, I mean, that's going to take a huge hit. So he might be realizing that he's got a bunch of money parked on shaky ground, that he's built his castle on the sand. That might be what he's starting to realize. Let's see here. I would say 50 days, Peter says. I wonder how many of these YouTubers are GS bandwagon jumpers to try and capitalize on the recent rise in public interest. That's a good question. That's a good question. I think we can all agree I was the first to start talking about them regularly, right? To start really talking about them when I got this watch over a year ago, more than a year ago. I shouldn't say over, I should say more than a year ago. Over is not good English, but anyway, I'm not known for perfect English anyway. But yeah, I mean, I think the Grand Seiko is on a lot more radar screens these days, and for good reason. I think they're putting out some fantastic pieces, and like I say, I mean, it doesn't take a lot of time and effort for somebody to start realizing that these are the real deal. Once somebody brings their attention to it, you know, like I've brought it to the attention of a lot of people, right? And they start looking at it, they start digging in, and they start realizing, well, maybe there is something to this thing. Craig, would you buy an all-gold GS? I was talking to Steve about that, and I told him, I said, they really don't have the all-gold GS to compete with like a Date 8, for example. If they came out with some of these sport watches, like this watch here, they could come out with that in all gold, right? If they came out with a watch that was a great all-arounder, that was all gold, that was reasonably priced. See, a lot of their gold stuff is, the prices are astronomical. They got to get the price down to, if they want to compete with something like a Date 8, they got to get down in that price range, and it's got to be a fantastic watch. I mean, the Date 8 is a fantastic watch. So they got to come out with something with a stunning bracelet, all gold, that's freaking awesome, in the price range of a Date 8, and I would absolutely consider it. I would absolutely consider it in a heartbeat, but they don't offer such a thing right now. You know, with the all gold bracelet and everything. I'm not going to buy one on a strap. That would not compete with a Date 8. Half of the coolness of the Date 8 is the President bracelet. Mark hates losing money. He's selling his used scratched Omega for $4K when they can be had new at that price. Well, maybe he's not going to sell it too. I wish Grand Seiko could produce the spring drive movement automatic in a similar style case to the Rolex HS36. That would really work. Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. 100%. But I don't know if they can get it that small and that thin. The HS36 is what, 11.7 mils. They've been struggling to get the spring drive that thin. They have the manual ones out now that are manual wind that are pretty thin, but they don't have screw down crowns, and they're more like a dress watch. They're beautiful, and they make a lot of sense for a dress watch, because you might not be wearing a dress watch all the time, and so, you know, not being automatic is not as big a deal. Let's see. My ideal would be 37, 38 millimeter spring drive and 44 GS case. Yeah, and get it down to 12 mils thick at the most. Absolutely. The blue snowflake is smaller than the white one, so I think they are trying to go a bit smaller with the spring drive. They already have a few that are like in the 39 mils range. So they have some, but they're still not thin enough. I think the thinnest is around 12.6 mils, isn't that right? See, they could come out with one without a display back and make it a little thinner. I think they have one now that doesn't have a display back, that's a little thinner than the Snowflake. But maybe somebody can check that and put it in the chat, what the thinnest and smallest spring drive is that they offer right now, as of now. It would be like probably their base model with no display back, be my guess. And sapphire, not hard X. Well, all of the Grand Seikos are sapphire, as far as I know. I was watching America Hustle last night, spotted quite a few yellow gold 70s Rolexes. Well, there you go. Clive is trying a Grand Seiko JDM from someone he knows, he said today. Okay. If GS made a 38 diameter snowflake with 12 millimeter thick case, then they'd be sold out by lunchtime. I hear you. Let them know. Let them know, because they don't listen to me, but they might listen to you guys. Message them. Message them on Instagram. Message them anywhere you can that this is what you want. And we want one in all gold, too. We want them to offer one in all gold. And I'd love for them to figure out how to put micro adjustments on it. Even the Date 8 with the President bracelet doesn't have micro adjustments. I think they should come out with a stunning all gold snowflake, 38 mils, 12 mils thick, with really cool micro adjustments. That would be so freaking cool. I would buy one like that. Now, not if it's insanely priced, but let's say 30 grand. 30 grand They come out with one, I'll buy it like that. Just like that. Instantly. I like VC, so but not pull the trigger. Craig, to clarify, Fed concedes that GS is now a desirable brand for him in his latest video. I used to hate these watches. Who's Fed? Oh, Federico. Okay. Interesting. Okay. The blue snowflake is very interesting. Does it have a screw down crown? If they could make it smaller, make from titanium, that would be better. I think all the snowflakes, as far as I know, have screw down crowns. I know the one I had a screw down crown. I'm pretty sure they do. I recently bought an SBGN005 spring drive, and here in the UK, the time will move back 1 hour in October. Can I turn the time back on my watch, or would I have to wait for the watch to stop running? Oh, you can hack it. You can pull out all the way out, and it'll stop, and you can set it to whatever time you want, just like any watch. Can all dealers do repairs on the spring drive movement? No, they're not going to do the repairs. They're going to, like Steve, for example, would send it to New Jersey. They can repair them at the New Jersey center. And then, of course, overseas, they'd probably just send them to Japan. But they really don't need repairs. They're really very robust movements. So I don't think you're going to need any repairs. I don't think that's going to be an issue. Just wear the watch and enjoy it. Guys, it was fun to be here as ever, but it's time to hit the sack. It's 11:25. There you go. I'm going to wrap it up here pretty soon, too. Let me just double check here and refresh and make sure I haven't missed anything. Robust movement. So let's see here. Anybody just throw any other questions in? I probably won't be doing another live stream until at least Sunday, if even then. So if you have any questions or comments or anything, throw them in there. I did put some links in the chat. So for anybody new to the channel, and also be sure to click the subscribe and click the bell. Mark and Clive wearing Grand Seiko on Archie's channel will be interesting. Well, that would be interesting if they both do it. That will be interesting. I hope owning a GS doesn't become a Me Too watch like owning a Sub or Speedy. It might start getting hard for some of these people to get them. I don't know. I mean, this is going to be interesting to see if the supply starts drying up. And by the way, Bitcoin's pumping a little bit. Speaking of supply, let's take a quick look at Bitcoin and see how it's doing. Let's see. Let's go back here. See if I can get the, here we go. Okay, Bitcoin's pumping a little bit, folks. Bitcoin is at back up to 85.88. 85.88. Pretty wild times, folks. Now that is a limited supply item, folks. That is something that is legit limited supply. And so it's going to be interesting now that Microsoft is starting to get involved and a lot of big players are starting to. It's sort of like Grand Seiko, you know. Grand Seiko is starting to get on the radar screen for a lot of folks. And so now Bitcoin is starting to get on the radar screen for a lot of folks. You know, my entire adult life, I've tried to do like Wayne Gretzky. Isn't he the one that they said he always skated to where he thought the puck was going to be? He didn't go to where the puck is now. He would skate to where he thought it was going to be. And that's what I've been trying to do is skate to where the puck is going to be. So I skated towards Grand Seiko, and that seems to be where the puck is headed now. And, of course, years ago, I skated towards Bitcoin, and now it looks like the puck is starting to head that direction. So funny how that happens. I skated towards the internet back in 1996 when people were starting to talk about this whole new thing called the internet. Of course, it was around 94 that I first started really learning about it, and about 96 was when I jumped in with both feet and started buying all the domain names and started developing websites and doing all the stuff that I'm doing. So yeah, we try to skate to where the puck is going to be. Let's see. I hope owning a GS. Okay, we already read that. What's the GS to get? That depends on really your use case. If you want a rugged, heavy use, everyday watch and you don't mind the size of this one, this is 44 mils by 14, but see, it sits on the wrist nicely, I think. If you don't mind a watch that size, I love this 231. I mean, I wear it all the freaking time. So this is the titanium version of the diver. And if that's your use case, that's a fantastic watch. But that's the neat thing about Grand Seiko is they have a wide range of watches in all different configurations and sizes and so forth. Of course, there are some ones that they don't make that we'd like to have them make, which we've been talking about, but they already make a lot of really cool ones. So, Craig, what's your limit for watch spending? 100K? I don't think I would spend that much, no. I think that 30K number for the watch that we were describing, that if Grand Seiko made it, I think that would kind of be my limit. My limit would kind of be like Day-Date 40 money or Day-Date 36 money. You can buy a Day-Date 40 now new for about $28,500. I think that's what Dudley paid for his. So that's just under 30 grand. I wouldn't really consider spending more than that. There'd be really no need to, in my opinion. I think, you know, you get a watch like that, that's a very, very nice watch. I'm not going to... And as far as on a steel watch, I wouldn't spend more than $5,000 for a steel watch. Full stop, done. I mean, I wouldn't even consider it. If I was going to spend more than $5,000, I'd start looking at gold, or steel and gold at least. Let's see. Grand Seiko makes only 35,000 pieces a year, while Rolex makes 650,000 pieces a year. So the GS is not in everybody's watch. No, and they really can't scale up to those kind of numbers. They don't have the staff available or the facility available. So I think it'll stay a niche watch. See, they don't do much advertising or anything, so it's only people like us that really know about them. The average Joe out there has no clue, whereas the average Joe does know what a Rolex is. Maybe they're not going to buy it, maybe they can't afford it, but they know what it is because they've seen it, you know, on every sports program they see Rolex. I mean, they see Rolex on the car races, you know, every freaking where they see Rolex, right? Not the case with Grand Seiko. People have no idea what Grand Seiko is. Craig, do you think all those Hong Kong anti-extraction protests and the police crackdowns are going to create a run up for Bitcoin in East Asia? I think a lot of things might cause a major pump in Bitcoin. Bitcoin is very hard to predict, as we all know. It kind of goes up and down. It does its thing. But I think there are a lot of elements falling in place, a lot of situations, a lot of things going on that could cause a rather significant move in Bitcoin over the next couple of years. Not the least of which is the Bitcoin halving, which is, we're inside of a year now. It's going to happen in May of next year with a halving where the supply that's created is cut in half. It's going to start getting tight, folks. It's going to start getting hard to get Bitcoin. Bitcoin is already, the rumors are that some of the supply on over-the-counter market supply is starting to dry up already. And so that's the problem. When the over-the-counter supplies dry up, then people have to go to the exchanges to buy it. And that will drive up the price. You know, you do a quiet deal over the counter with somebody, that doesn't affect the price. You know, it's just between you and Joe Schmo, and it's a very quiet deal. It's not going to affect the price. But if you have to turn to the exchanges and buy, let's say, 1,000 Bitcoin, you're going to start driving up the price. And I think that's what's starting to happen. going to be interesting to see. Interesting times that we live in. Let's see. Not for I just got both of my GS from the UK. Let's see here. If Lexus had been named Grand Toyota, do you think it would have done just as well? Yeah, I don't think the name makes much difference. I think people that buy Lexus buy for the quality. I mean, people spend $80,000 to buy a Toyota Land Cruiser, and it's named Toyota, right? And the reason they're buying it is because they want a Land Cruiser, and they know what a Land Cruiser is. So I think most people that buy the Lexus or that buy high-end Toyotas, I think they're buying them because they want quality. They're not buying them for the name. If they wanted the name, they're going to get BMW. They're going to get BMW or Mercedes or Audi. Those are the ones that have the luxury name, not Lexus. Lexus still is not thought of by most people at the same level as Mercedes and BMW and these other brands. So otherwise, those other brands wouldn't be selling at all. I mean, because Lexus is clearly a better car. And so the fact that people are still buying Mercedes and still buying BMW, it tells you that they're buying the name. They don't know. They haven't done the research. People don't know. Here's the thing. People are busy every day with their life, with taking the kids to the soccer game and all these different things. They don't know about these things. They don't know about the difference in quality between Lexus and BMW. They don't know about Grand Seiko versus Rolex. I mean, they don't have the time to research it. They just don't know. So they go out and make a purchase based on a brand name or whatever, based on what their neighbor has or whatever. It's not always an informed, intelligent purchase. That's just the way it is, folks. I mean, that's just calling it the way it is. That's what we do on this channel. We call it the way it is. So, let's see here. Craig, what's the greatest song of all time? Believe it or not, I like some of the show tune songs. I like some of the songs from Sound of Music. I like some of the songs from My Fair Lady. There's just some really cool songs in My Fair Lady. I like the song when Rex Harrison is singing, is it Never Let a Woman in Your Life? If you guys have never heard that song, you got to listen to that song. Rex Harrison singing Never Let a Woman in Your Life. I think that's the title. Anyway, that's what he says in the song. Check that out. Check out the songs from My Fair Lady. If you haven't seen the movie with Audrey Hepburn, check out that movie. It's fantastic. And of course, Sound of Music. I mean, it's just freaking amazing. So yeah, I'm an old-fashioned guy. I like stuff like that. I like the songs from A Chorus Line, I guess because back in the day I went and saw the play, Chorus Line. I like a lot of show tunes. I like a lot of stuff like that. I like some stuff from, who did that song, Laughing? Laughing, was it the Guess Who? Anyway, I like that song, Laughing, from back in the day. So I had a lot of stuff I like. Lexus does have a commonality with Rolex. Easily pronounced names in different languages. Okay, there you go. Yeah, Lexus is a good name. They came out with a good name. Just wonder about GS marketing strategy. They don't really have a marketing strategy, RJ Lane. We've talked about this before. They are clueless when it comes to marketing and branding. Clueless. But it doesn't matter because, like I talked about in the beginning, that they are very constrained as far as their production. They are at production capacity. So really, they don't need to do any marketing at this point. There'd be no reason for them to do any marketing, smart or otherwise, because they can't increase their capacity anyway. So they're where they are, and I think they're going to stay where they are for the foreseeable future. I'm just pleased that I have two of them. Here in Panama, there are a lot of Lexus, more than Toyota, I would say. Well, there you go. For not luxury, Japanese here in Panama is Honda. Okay, there you go. I enjoy owning a watch such as the GS that most people don't have. I agree with you. They're very enjoyable to wear and use. Would you want GS marketing to improve to more non-watch people become aware, or would you prefer it to stay only those in the know? Well, I think it's going to stay to those in the know for the foreseeable future for the reasons I've mentioned earlier. I don't think they're going to change their marketing. I think, and I don't think they care about improving their marketing. I think it is what it is. I think they're at capacity, so I think they're good. I think it's good that they're putting most of their resources into the watches as opposed to into marketing. I think that's a good thing for those of us that have them. It's a good thing that the effort and expense goes into the people making the watch and the materials and all that, as opposed to in the marketing budget. Oh, people with busy lives will know about quality when their BMWs turn into endless money pits. Lexus over the years garnered a ton of disgruntled German car owners. Yeah, once you own a Lexus and you drive it for a few years, yeah, you're probably in that camp. You're probably not going back to BMW. On the Street Where You Live, yeah, that's another great one. That's a great song. Absolutely. I'll have to listen to the soundtrack. I've got the soundtrack. I have to listen to that. Great movie, too. Carlos, do you go to Schooner's Beach Pub in Panama? He probably does. He probably owns the place. Speaking of Audrey Hepburn, Breakfast at Tiffany's is a classic. Oh, yeah, that absolutely. She wasn't in hardly any bad movies. Roman Holiday, wasn't that her first breakout thing? That was fantastic. You can watch any of her movies, Audrey Hepburn, and you're gonna. It's going to be a good movie. Who do you think has the best collection? I'm not sure. No, sounds familiar to me, but not in top of my mind. Okay. I like Cole Porter. There you go. Lawrence of Arabia to Damascus. Okay, there you go. Moon River. Oh, yeah. You know, when she was, I believe, when she was sitting in the window and playing the guitar and doing, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but that might be a song that she actually sang. See, most of the songs she did not sing. And like, for example, in My Fair Lady, Nixon, Marna Nixon, what was her? I know her last name was Nixon, but anyway, she sang a lot of songs for a lot of the movies. She sang the songs in My Fair Lady for Audrey. Audrey didn't sing any of those songs. But I think in Breakfast at Tiffany's, Moon River, I think Audrey actually sang that. I could be wrong, but I think she did. Edelweiss, yeah, I've got a great video of one of the girls singing that here on my channel. Search that. She was really good. Search Edelweiss here on my channel. You'll see it. Wandering Star, Thunder Road, could be other candidates. Yeah, Thunder Road's very good. Yeah, yes. This isn't a slam against the GS watch. I just find the branding interesting. I have a Land Cruiser, so the badge isn't that important to me as long as it isn't German. My gosh, a Land Cruiser's a tank. I mean, talk about an overbuilt, that's just amazing vehicle. You can buy just about any Land Cruiser, and you're like, and that's a vehicle that, you know, it almost makes sense to buy it new. They hold their values so well that you know, usually I would recommend somebody buy a vehicle like 5 years old that was well kept, garage kept, stuff like that, maybe 10 years old. But those are so hard to find, and they're usually got like 250,000 miles on them. That's a vehicle that it almost pays to just spend I think you can get them for around 72,000 discounted, 72 to 75 grand now, a new one. It almost pays just to buy it new. And you wouldn't say that about most cars, but that's one that, you know, you're probably just better off just buying it new. Let's see, Roman Holiday, great film. There you go. St. Elmo's Fire is a good soundtrack. There you go. All right, we are going to wrap this puppy up. Fantastic show, folks. Thanks for popping in, everybody. Make sure you click subscribe. Click that little bell. And we've been going for a while, okay? I'm not going to say how long because we've been going for a while. But we're going to wrap this puppy up. And stay tuned. Steve might do a show tomorrow. He might do a show and show him some love. I'm going to complete this event.